Hello, welcome to Infinite Prattle, another episode of Season 6, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the celebrities I've met while I've been, on the railway really, and sometimes in my personal life, but mainly on the railway. That was a great intro.
Hello and welcome to
Infinite Prattle!
Unscripted, unedited prattle on everything, hosted by me, Stephen. Listen, like, share and subscribe, and enjoy the show.
Did you recover from that terrible intro? I know I haven't. Anyway, on today's episode, I'm going to be mostly wearing a Goonies cap and talking about celebrities. Mainly ones that I've met while working on the railway. And if I have time, I'll tell you about some that I've met in my personal life. So, I've worked on the railway for quite a while now. I don't really want to say how long. A long time. And I started as a customer service assistant with a company called Virgin Trains. Virgin, Richard Branson, had a train company. And yeah, I left college and I had a part-time job while at college and then joined full-time. And in my time working for that train company and being on the front line basically of customer service, you bump into multiple people and you bump into celebrities. And I was talking to Sarah today. We went out for some breakfast, went shopping, ended up having some breakfast while we were out, had a lovely morning, and we were chatting about stuff, and I told her something she never heard, which is amazing because I talk a lot. If you're new to the podcast, you may not know this fact, but she's the one that actually encouraged me to start the podcast because I prattle on so much. So you've got her to thank for this content. This chair's really annoying me. It's still making the sound. I hope it's not going across in the audio. I can never remember when I edit that, when I like put the video together, if it is, it's coming across. Anyway, you naturally meet people that are famous when you work in customer services because obviously they are just people and they also travel around. And trains are quite prevalent in the UK. You know, we've got quite a good network and it's an easy way to get from city to city like it is in any country, I suppose. And yeah, I was talking to Sarah today while we were having breakfast in a little cafe, and I told her a couple of little stories. And I just thought I'd like relay them to you today, and maybe a couple of extras if I have time. So I can't remember how we got onto it, but we were talking about like celebrity, and I think we were talking about Ian McKellen. And I think we were talking about, that's what it was. I saw someone that looked a little bit like Garen, you know, the Irish guy that is on TikTok and Instagram and does singing. We saw someone out the window that looked a bit like him, and I said, if it is him and he comes up here, I'll say hello to him. And Sarah's basically like, you wouldn't do that because you don't like really interfering with celebrities, which is right. You know, I saw one of the British Superbike riders weirdly in a Starbucks in Crewe earlier on in the year, and kind of wanted to get a selfie with them or at least talk to them or whatever. And I didn't really want to because I didn't want to bring any attention to them. But I did go over and just say hello and kind of just show my appreciation, say like kind of, you know, appreciate what you do. It's an amazing sport, and being a motorcyclist myself, I really could not go around a race course that quick. It does amaze me every time. Every time I go to a BSB race, it amazes me how fast they're going past you. It's scary. So yeah, I didn't want to get a selfie. Sarah was really saying like, "Go get a selfie." And I was like, I feel awkward about it. But yeah, I'm kind of like that. And even though I've met quite a lot of celebrities, I'm not really one for getting autographs. And actually, when I worked for Virgin, it was something that was, I think it was actually against the rules to ask celebrities for autographs. It was indeed very frowned upon if it wasn't against the rules, which you can see why. You know, it's drawing attention to them. Some people are very private, and you know they're just travelling, and you want to be a professional. But we were talking about like we came on to the fact that Ian McKellen, Sarah was like, Ian McKellen's lovely, and I said, oh, he is lovely, and I'd want to get a picture with him. And I've seen him, he actually takes the camera off people and does selfies and stuff, and I think he really enjoys doing that. And I mentioned Sir Patrick Stewart, and I should say Sir Ian McKellen, because they both are sirs, so sorry about that. But yeah, I mentioned Sir Patrick Stewart and said that, I'd probably lose my shit if I met him, if I'm honest with you. Just love the bones of the guy. I don't know why. I know he's a great actor and blah blah, and he's one of my favourite captains in Star Trek, if not my favourite. Kirk might just edge him out, but Picard is a flaming good character. They're very much on par with me. I think it depends on what I'm feeling on what day, who's the best. But yeah, I basically said, I would lose my mind. And then I went on to say, and this is getting to the point of Railway, I said, I actually think I met him, or he got on a train next to me one time when I was working on the train station in Crewe. And I remember just being super, super busy. I don't know any dates or anything like that. It was just a day. I think it was when I was a full-time member of staff, so it would have been after I finished college. I think I was... I don't know. Anyway, but there was a couple of people, and I'd seen this guy really nicely dressed with a flat cap on, long overcoat, and with a couple of people, but not really paid much attention. Had his collar drawn up. It was a cold day, very busy on the platform, and the train came in, and I opened the door, and I think it was the coaches between first and standard, so I'm not sure where they went to sit. I think they went to sit in first class, but the first person boarded, and I opened the door and kind of went, there you go, sir, and he said thank you, but I swear it was Patrick Stewart's voice. Like, he's got a very distinctive voice, and I was like, what? Kind of like, what? And the person behind him kind of looked at me and went, yeah, cheers, thanks, but was looking at my face to say, yeah, I think you know who that is, but I couldn't see the guy's face properly because I was doing my job, and he had his collar pulled up, but I saw like the corner of his cheek and side of his face, and it looked like he had no hair with his flat cap on. I mean, it might not have been. It might have just been someone with a very, deep voice and a similar sounding voice. But I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I like to think it was him. It makes me feel better that it was him in some sense, but it was so busy. I really wanted to just get on the train and see. But I have quite strong feelings about following the rules, and it was so busy. I think if it had been quiet, if I'd have just got on the train, if I'd have got locked on, I'd have been like, oh well, never mind. Something that never actually happened to me when I worked on the trains is getting locked on, and it's called being overcarried. It never actually happened to me. I tried it once with the singer Louise, who was in a band called Eternal in the UK. Don't know how famous they were elsewhere in the world. I think they did try the States. I'm not sure how famous they got, but they were kind of like England's Destiny's Child, basically. And I quite liked them as a band. And Louise, she ended up marrying Harry Redknapp, who played for Liverpool. And she was on a train, and I saw them through the window, and I was like, oh my god, that's Louise Redknapp. And she smiled at me, and I was like, oh my god. She was stunningly beautiful with these two dancers, and they were beautiful as well. And it was a really quiet day. I think it was a Sunday, really quiet. And everyone had been getting overcarried on trains, and I'd never had. And I was like, you know what, this is the day. I'm going to get overcarried on a train with Louise Redknapp in. I don't think she was married to Jamie Redknapp at the time. Me probably thinking she's single and I'll have a chance. So I basically tried to get overcarried. And one of the station staff members called Fred, he came and rescued me. And he opened the door and he went, come on, Stevie. You speak like that. Come on, Stevie. And I noticed you nearly got overcarried. And I was like, oh, yeah, cheers, Fred. And the thing is, I was waiting in the vestibule before the train left, before I went in to speak to her. So I didn't even get to speak to her or see her properly, because I thought, I'll hide in the vestibule area before the train leaves. And then once the train leaves, I'll go, oh dear, I've been overcarried. Ooh. And that'll be me opening to speak to her. So I'd kind of semi-planned it in about 10 seconds. But yeah, and that was the thing with Patrick Stewart. I didn't want to get overcarried because it was so busy. I didn't want to let my friends down. I worked with my colleagues down that I worked with. Whereas that other time, it was quiet, and I thought I'll feel less guilty. But yeah, I just I've met quite a lot of celebrities that I know of as well. So a lot of UK-based celebrities, like some celebrity chefs, a lot of athletes. I worked at Manchester when the Commonwealth Games was on. Was it 2001, 2002? So I met a lot of the athletes and a lot of the teams. Met Team GB. I actually escorted Team GB to the stadium, and there was like a welcome party with Richard Branson and a lot of executives, and I'm guessing people that give money to the like sponsorship people and stuff, like people that sponsored the event, corporates. And that was a weird situation. We actually watched the band S Club 7 practicing while we were at the arena. It was the Manchester City Stadium, and that was a bit of a strange situation. But yeah, Denise Lewis, I met her. She's absolutely stunningly beautiful. She was so lovely. Just a tall, strong, powerful, beautiful woman. Like, not just looks-wise, she was just so lovely to us. And I think it was you and Thomas met him as well. There were so many people, so many sports people I've met. Met Helen Baxendale, who's famous in this country for a program called Cold Feet, amongst other things, and she played Emily in Friends, which was Ross's girlfriend, and the one that he was marrying when he said, "Take thee, Rachel." So yeah, I met her, and I always thought she was. It's going to sound terrible, so I'm sorry, Miss Baxendale. I always thought she was a bit like harsh looking and, kind of plain. And I was stood on Manchester Piccadilly Station, and this woman walked up to me, and I remember thinking as she was walking up, thinking, "You're just really naturally beautiful. Wow." And she asked me when the next train to such and such was, and then I was like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "Oh, are you Helen Baxendale?" And she was like, "Yeah, I am." And I was like, her face just lit up. I was like, "Wow, what a pleasure to meet you." And I said something, I don't know if she heard me, but I said something like, "You're far more pretty in real life." And I don't know if she heard me, because she just went, "Oh, right, great, thanks," and she went, unless she was just being really polite in English. But as soon as she walked off, I wanted to shout, "I don't mean it like that." Like, because obviously her characters and stuff, they're made up in a certain way, and Emily, especially in Friends, which was mainly where I knew her from, she was always made to be like prim and proper, but in real life she was just lovely looking, and I felt so bad, and I was like, "Oh my god." So Helen Baxendale, I apologise that I basically made out as if you were ugly, and I was surprised you were pretty, which actually was my reaction, if I'm honest with you, but you were very, very lovely, and you were very gracious, if you did hear me, to not call me out on it, so I apologise. And I told Sarah a story about someone that I thought I met, and it was someone we lost from the world of entertainment, and one of my favourite all-time people in the entertainment industry is Robin Williams. There's not many people that are famous that I've never actually met or spoke to or anything like that kind of chokes me up when I think about it, but Robin Williams is one of them. I think he was an absolute ray of sunshine, just a ball of energy, and played some of my most favourite characters of all time in serious roles and in comedy roles. I mean, Mork and Mindy when I was a kid still cracks me up now, but Robin Williams as Mork, like, oh my god, like, I wanted to be him as a kid. Like, I just wanted to be him. I wanted his clothes. I just thought he was cool, even though he looked ridiculous with that hair. And like, I'm watching it in the 80s, and I think Mork and Mindy was like late 70s, so I'm watching it kind of like almost like a retro program. So it wasn't really the fashion at the time, and I was like, I want to wear what he's wearing: dungarees, stripy coloured top, mad hair, like, acts ridiculous. Like, I feel like he formed my personality as a child somewhat. Yeah, and I have a story about Robin Williams in Crewe Station. So Crewe is where I live, and I was working one day, and I came into the café, which is on platform 6. So anyone that's been through Crewe or has come to Crewe there's a middle island, there's a cafe, spans between platform 6 and 11, and I was working on the station for Virgin Trains as a customer service assistance person that day. So there's various roles you play, and I used to do a lot of customer assistances. So basically you can book to have help, and that was my role for the day. You get a big list of people, what train they're coming in on, what train they're going on, etc., and I would just go meet them, put them somewhere, and then go and put them on the next train. Quite a lovely job, to be fair, because you're helping people, people with anxiety or just scared of travel, or just people that can't manage, need wheelchair ramps and such things. So really nice job. And I remember putting this lady into the cafe to say, right, we'll put you here, are you okay? You can get yourself a drink and stuff. Your train's not for like another hour or whatever. And I caught this guy's eye as I walked in and thought, oh, he looks really interesting. Like, I thought he's got it was almost like he looked scruffy, but it was like an expensive scruffy. He was wearing like a woolly, I think it was winter or autumn. He was wearing like a woolly jumper, but you could tell it was an expensive jumper, even though it was a bit rough. And maybe corduroy trousers, but he just had this beard and scruffy hair, and I think he was wearing like a cap, like maybe a flat cap. Flat caps are obviously the rage. And he was reading a book, or like had a notebook or something like that. He had something in his hand and a little bag, and there was something about him that drew, like his energy. Like, I don't know, it was strange. So I helped this, but I was concentrating on this woman. So I was helping this woman. Let's get her settled. I think I even went and bought a drink for her. She gave me some money. I went and bought a drink because I like to go a bit of extra mile. It wasn't really my job to do that, but I like to do the extra mile. It's very customer service focused. And as I said, right, we're going to leave you here. I'll come back in a little bit and check on you. And as I was leaving, I turned to him and I caught his eye again and smiled. And he smiled back, but his eyes lit up and the smile. And for me, it was Robin Williams. But it took me a few seconds to realise. And as I turned to walk out through the door, I was like, my God, that was Robin Williams. But then I was like, nah, Robin Williams in Crew? Nah. And then I walked away and I was thinking, no, but he had that beard in, is it Good Will Hunting or the Dead Poets Society? Good Will Hunting, I think it was. I think earlier in the story when I told Sarah, I think it was Dead Poets Society, but I think he's clean shaven in Dead Poets Society. Oh, Captain, my Captain. So it must have been Good Will Hunting. So he had that kind of beard. And I kind of went back to the office to check on a couple of trains. And I was like, I'm going to have to go back and look. Like, I'm going to have to go back because if it's Robin Williams, he's like my idol. Like, I need to, I don't care about the rules. I need to speak to him. And I went back and he was gone. And I said to the woman in the cafe, I said, the chap was sat there. And she was like, oh yeah, after you left, he just got up and ran and jumped on a train, the first train that was in. He must have forgot it, didn't realise it was his train. And I was like, that's really odd. And to this day, I believe it was Robin Williams. I believe it was Robin Williams, sincerely, the fact that I don't think anyone had that glint in their eye and that smile like he did. And that energy that was coming off him. And why would someone just suddenly just go and jump on a train? Like, he seemed calm and like he knew what he was doing. And I genuinely think he was like, shit, that guy's just recognised me. I need to go and get on a train now before multiple people do. Because like Robin Williams was huge. Like, he was a huge deal. And you can only imagine a busy train station if people start recognising him. It's game over for him, really, I suppose. And then I'll leave you this last quick story before I go. I'll try and make it quick to keep the podcast to a reasonable length. The last one was my brother met his favourite actor years and years ago. My brother used to work in the cafe on Crew Station when he was at university as like a job to earn a bit of extra money when he was home from university. And I think before he went to university as well. And his favourite actor was a guy called Pete Postlethwaite. Now, he's one of these chaps, Pete Postlethwaite, that's, when you say his name, you're like, I have no idea who he is. But as soon as you see him, you go, oh, he's been in loads of stuff. And he played the priest in Romeo and Juliet, and he's been in a lot of British productions like Brassed Off. And probably one of his most famous roles was Jurassic Park 2, I think it was, where he played one of the hunter guys. And my brother met him in the cafe. He came in for a coffee and a sandwich or something like that. And my brother couldn't believe his luck when he saw him. I might be paraphrasing this story here, but basically my brother was like, oh my God, like, you're my favourite actor and I'm studying at university. And I think my brother was doing a monologue that was his from one of his plays or films, like Brassed Off or something like that, or a thought I heard program that he'd been in. It was either a monologue or he was studying something. He was doing something to do with him anyway. And he was basically, oh my god, you're like my favourite actor. But he'd never asked for his autograph, and he didn't really feel like he could after like kind of being a bit gushy. I think he felt like he'd been a bit over the top, and apparently Pete Postlethwaite was very, very okay with it, and he even gave my brother some money. He was like, this is like, kind of said like, this is amazing, you're at university doing this, like, good luck. And he said, here's some money, and I think he said it was like, this is for the books because I know how expensive they are. And he gave my brother £50, I believe. That's how I remember it, at least anyway. My brother would probably edit this story completely. But he was gutted he never got his autograph. And I was like, oh, well, he should have just done it. And he was like, oh, well, didn't feel like I could. And it was about a year later when I started working full-time on the station that I was stood on the platform one day and I was going back to the office and I walked back to this guy and it was Pete Postlethwaite. So I went back to the office and did what I needed to do, and I thought, I'm going to have to get the autograph from my brother. It's against the rules, but I'm going to have to. So I went out and I discreetly kind of walked up to him and said, excuse me, are you Pete Postlethwaite? And he kind of looked like, oh my god, I've been recognised kind of thing. And he was like, yes, I am. I said, listen, I'll try not to draw too much attention to you. And I was trying to do it as if it was like an interaction. I had my little arrival and departure book and I was pretending to like check for a train. And I said, listen, you met my brother here a couple of years ago, like a year ago. And he didn't want to ask for your autograph. And I said, but it would mean the world to him if he did. I said, he was working in the café over there and he's been at uni and he's still studying now. And Pete Postlethwaite was like, oh, yes, I remember the chap. He said, his name's Gavin. And I was like, yeah, that's right. And he was like, he says, how was he doing? And I was like, he's doing great. Like, he's finished his like first year at uni or second year at uni, and he's doing this, and this. And he was like, wonderful. He says, right. He said, that's no problem. He says, if you get me a pen. And we were on platform 5, and I'll never forget, he went, meet me under the stairs in a couple of minutes, kind of thing. And so he obviously was very private, and you could tell he wanted to do this, but he obviously didn't really want to draw attention, because this is the time when Jurassic Park 2, I think, had just come out. I'm pretty sure that's the one he was in. And he was very much like about shielding himself, I think. I'm just checking the time. He was very much shielding himself from being noticed, I think. So we kind of met near the lift under the stairs, and I got the autograph, and I was like, thank you so much. I said, this is going to mean the world to him. And my brother loved it. He was like, oh my god, I can't believe you met him. And I said, he remembered you. He didn't believe me that he'd remembered him. He was like, he didn't. I was like, honestly, he did. And it was such a lovely moment. It was like, and I was kind of like blown away that he'd remembered my brother, but he obviously made an impression. And I suppose that, an actor of his caliber, like, probably doesn't meet people that kind of, one, know who he is, and maybe people saying them sort of things to him. So maybe it made an impression on him, and I'd like to think so. But yeah, I just think that's a nice little story. Got loads of others. They're all going to go in my railway book that I'm writing. I'm writing a little bit of a memoir on the railway, and I'm going to try and put all these in there. These chance encounters, let's say, because there's multiple people I've met. Sometimes not a good experience, but sometimes a very good experience. And I just don't like to like hassle celebs too much. But it is cool when you meet someone that you do kind of aspire to be, or you just have an appreciation for, and you enjoy what they do. Right, I think I'll end it there. That took longer than I thought. I knew it would. You know me, prattling away. Anyway, thanks very much for tuning in. Give us a thumbs up if you can, if you want to. No pressure. And join us again next week for another Infinite Prattle podcast. Don't know what I'm going to be talking about. I don't really plan these things. So thanks very much for tuning in anyway. And keep on prattling.
Thanks for listening to Infinite Prattle with your host Stephen. Follow me on social networks at Infinite Prattle, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much.